My name is Lindsay Moore. I am CEO of Develop Metrics. I was formerly a USAID Foreign Service economist for 11 years, and I'm really excited to be here for this lightning talk, although, of course, I wish I was in person. The goal of this talk is to discuss localization of AI, and specifically in the context of climate data, and to learn about how, depending on which AI model you use, you'll get different recommendations. And what implications does that have for the digital divide and our efforts to localize and make sure that local communities are incorporated in the decision-making processes that affect their lives when many of these decision processes are now highly driven by AI. So I'll start by showing you an example of Develop Metrics model. One of our chats, Aid Insight, thanks to Ryan Vota, who I think is at the conference for the name. Aid Insight is a chatbot that goes through the development clearinghouse. And it's been trained on very technical terms, just like a USAID expert, using traditional research methods of going through documents, labeling excerpts, and and then using that training data to make sure that the model, when it goes through the deck, understands terms exactly like a USAID expert and gives responses that way. So here you can see I asked it about previously, sorry, I've been talking to it a lot. I asked it about successful projects in Asia. It talked about many, such as the Building Climate Resilient Water Operators in Manila project. It talks all about it. And it also provides the relevant documents that from the projects that it highlighted. For example, it also highlighted the Environment Cooperation Asia project. So you can actually go into the report itself and read that. I also asked it, based on our conversation about successful projects, what would you recommend as an intervention if you wanted to promote sustainable management and use of natural resources? Again, that's a very technical term, but it has been trained with environmental experts from the USAID and the UN to really capture exactly that meaning. And so here you can see it says everything from contextualized interventions according to household resources, livelihood types, etc. So you can see that it's very, very specific to USAID, and you can see the actual taxonomy. So natural disaster climate risk safeguards is the intervention that it tagged for this, for one of these, for the answer based on this Kisan 2 report, and you can have the definition of that for a USAID expert, just like a USAID expert did. I asked the same question to GPT, and you can see here some projects that it brought up. I looked up the first one. I don't think REB, the Renewable Energy Expansion in Bangladesh, is actually a USA project because it's not trained so specifically. GPT has in all AI models, but GPT in particular will make up, it's called hallucinate, make up projects. But I also asked it to tell me about, to recommend interventions, and it says capacity building. So you also find that because GPT is such a general model, it's very useful for general tasks, but it's not domain specific, meaning it cannot respond like a USAID technical expert. So all of that is to say that depending on the model itself and how you train the model, you'll get different answers and different recommendations. So Aid Insight is great, but it's also biased towards everything in development clearinghouse, which we know isn't perfect, and trained by USAID experts. So while you're getting all information from past project documents, what about the local perspective? And so we think about climate change, for example, and if we're asking for, for based on these past lessons, what has been successful? Think about how do you define success? How does the local community define success? Here we built a success definition with USAID, but maybe a local community uh, would call it something different. Or think about very specific terms like women's empowerment. How would a local community define success in women's empowerment? I'm sure it'd be very different than how the Silicon Valley creators of GPT would define success in women's empowerment. And so by not including local frameworks, local data sources into AI models, the risk is that we will have recommendations and projects that wouldn't be as successful as they would be if we brought in that local knowledge, because it has been proven that local knowledge does improve outcomes of projects. That was a lot really quickly. Feel free to reach out if you want more information or to talk more. And thanks so much for having me. Have a great close of the conference, everyone.